think about what we can do at this moment, at this very moment, where Mother Nature is telling us that if we destroy our environment, we destroy ourselves. Where Father Time is warning us, time is running out. Where it's ever more important for people of goodwill to get together in public-private partnerships for people. And that is what we're about today. We have government officials, we have people from the private sector and the not-for-profit sector over these next 2 days to talk about what we can do to address these issues, because we, in order to solve them, have to take responsibility for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, aloha and a very good morning to all of you. I hope this message finds you all safe in these difficult times. It is a pleasure to participate, although remotely, in this event on inclusive, vibrant neighborhoods and communities action to address spatial inequality.
I'm here to read a message, and I'd like to do that from our mayor, that I greet and welcome the organizers and participants of the 2-day meeting which celebrates UN World Habitat Day on October 5th, 2020. I am happy to note that this year's celebration through a webinar in lieu of an in-person meeting is being hosted by the Hawaii Council of the International Real Estate Federation, FIAMC, in partnership with the UN Habitat World Urban Campaign. Amid these difficult times of the pandemic, it is laudable that this online dialogue is being held among key players in the real estate industry to find solutions for inclusive, vibrant neighborhoods and communities.
I'm happy to be here as a panelist today to share some insight on Hawaii's construction costs and our market outlook. A general rundown of my presentation today will be some background on our firm, an introductory look at construction economics, and an update on our Q3 cost report and our projections on market outlook.
Let me give you a little overview on the financial market or the status of banks in general in Hawaii. And again, my comments are not overly global, it's somewhat more local. I think that might be relevant for the majority of the audience today. Pre-COVID, the economy and business was great. If you recall, our unemployment rate was 2.5%. Tourism was at 10 million, and we're trying to figure out how to reduce that number. Banks were doing well, consistent quarterly loan and deposit growth. Earnings were great, share prices were going up, and we were all poised for prosperous times. But despite all of that, we still had concerns, and that had to do with the lack of affordable housing, the homeless, and then naturally the ALICE population, asset limited, income constrained, employed population. So there was a lot of concern around space inequality.
The living costs and especially the housing cost is too high. So I suggested that we work with government and the private sector together by communicating with our community, with those people, and create more community projects.
For us, it really boils back down always to the children and our mission, which is educating the children of Hawaii and lifting the entire Lahui so that the future is bright, because we've got a lot of work ahead of us.
It's partnership. It's housing is a human right, as the executive director of UN Habitat said. And it's important to build a lot more, especially after the pandemic. I think the demand will increase exponentially. And as we saw examples during these presentations, the partnerships with the governments and people are very, very important.
Being part of a global organization, we were able to discover information well beyond our local community.
FIAPSI continues to really offer good symposium, good events, so we can continue to share ideas and knowledge.
We are trying to look at attempted steps to strengthen climate action and improve the urban environment.
We want to continue to do this because it's for the people. So we will continue to follow the legacy of all the great leaders of FIAPSI USA Hawaii Council.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you very, very much for joining us this morning. We are very, very excited to celebrate World Habitat Day yet again from Honolulu and online. It's very, very exciting to continue this support of the UN Habitat. I want to give you a couple of takeaways so that you know what you're getting. So the first takeaway is we want to do more with what we have. We're transformation. We need to do more with what we already have. This idea of a carbon-free world, of housing the world, is actually just a matter of us using the resources we already have. Another takeaway is the 15-minute city. The 15-minute city. That means that you live, you work, and you play within 15 minutes of where you live, and that you do not use fossil fuels to get those 15 minutes. So you take a tram, you take a bike, you take a walk. And so what I wanted to do today is we're going to have several really inspirational videos. And so the first thing I wanted to do today is start with the video that really is the impetus for this program. And it's actually from the Pritzker Prize. If you're not aware, the Pritzker Prize in Architecture, where it's going to be such a great day. We have architects, it's going to be Architecture Day. And so it's very, very exciting for us to hear from architects, the planners of our cities. So I want to start with a video. This is from the 2021 Pritzker Prize winners. So we'll show that video first. Thank you.
When we are designing the project, where we are starting to work on a site, we never think in terms of forms. So it's what we call from the inside out. It means that we think the project from inside. For us, it's important the principle of looking of what we have in hands and what we could do with it.
We are always talking about the existing city, existing situations. And we are inside these situations. It's a different approach of urbanism, no more from above, but from inside, with this curiosity and this precision.
And we are really interested in this process of transformation, addition, expansion, superimposition. Because for us, this opportunity of doing more with what we have.
We call plus. That means that we should never demolish, because always we have to consider what is already there, this memory, this life that people spend there, even in difficult conditions.
We did some projects of transformation, and especially of modern social housing. This is a transformation of 3 big blocks of 530 dwellings, and we did it without removing any family from the building, but with the ambition of transforming the space of living in a much better way, and to give another 50 years life of this building. And we transformed this into beautiful housing with much more space for every inhabitant. Here at this scale, it was really a part of the city, and we were expecting that it could really show the relevance of this process of transformation instead of demolition and rebuild.
So that's the idea here. One of the ideas, we're going to have a lot of ideas as we go through this, but we want to have our official welcomes now. First, we're going to have a video from the UN Habitat Executive Director. The World Habitat Day came from Cameroon this year, and so it has already happened in Africa and on that continent, but this is her official message to all the world for UN Habitat Day.
The climate crisis is widely recognized as the #1 threat facing the world today. And it is our cities and towns which are responsible for much of the climate change, which is resulting in devastating floods, droughts, and violent storms. In fact, cities and towns produce around 70% of the main greenhouse gases. Unless we take urgent action, the greenhouse gases produced by ever-expanding urban centers will continue to push global air temperatures higher. This is why the theme of this year's World Habitat Day on Monday, 4th October is Accelerating Urban Action for a Carbon-Free World. World Habitat Day provides an international opportunity to raise awareness and push for immediate action through events, discussions, and campaigns. And this year, in the run-up to the International Climate Change Summit COP26, we need immediate action in developing and implementing zero-carbon plans. The recovery from COVID-19 pandemic is an opportunity for the world's cities to put climate action on top of their agenda. This is a chance to change how we generate our power, construct our buildings, heat, cool, and light up our offices and homes, and travel around from home to work. We need clean, resource-efficient energy to replace fossil fuels. We need energy-efficient infrastructure to encourage walking and cycling. And we need well-planned and well-managed compact cities that allow for non-motorized transport to reduce energy consumption from cooling and heating, so the natural and built environment come together in greater harmony. Cities are the incubators of innovation and new technology. We must harness this strength for better climate change solutions. Climate action will differ from city to city, but we must make sure the green transition benefits everyone, especially the most vulnerable, and create new jobs. The only way forward is for everyone to work together to ensure that our climate goals are met through implementation of the new urban agenda to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals.
Excellent. That was the message. And we have a great friend in Executive Director Mahmoud Sharif. And she is such a good friend that she's actually also recorded a very special video just for us.
Hi, our colleagues in Honolulu. Warm greetings upon World Habitat Day 2021 from Yaoundé, Cameroon. And I would like to say, hope to see you soon. Thank you.
So as you can imagine, for the executive director to be in Africa and hosting all of the world, to have that message means we're very special. And so now let's hear from the city, City of Honolulu and the Housing Office. Thank you, Anton, and you'll give the mayor's message.
Aloha and happy World Habitat Day. On behalf of Mayor Rick Blangiardi, I welcome you. I'm Anton Krucke. I'm the Executive Director of Housing for the City and County of Honolulu. City and County of Honolulu is proud to help lead the way as we continue toward our goal of providing suitable housing for all. Honolulu has some of the highest rents in the United States. We also have a very high ALICE population, asset limited, income constrained, and employed. And we're finding with the COVID pandemic, we are seeing that number grow. Together with delegates from hundreds of countries, we have the opportunity to collaborate and share best practices that leave no one and no community behind when it comes to adequate shelter. To all those taking part in this year's program, mahalo. Mahalo for stepping up to the plate to find and implement solutions now for a carbon-free world. Thank you for working to identify actions our building sector can implement now and policies that keep us on track for Hawaii's clean energy goal by 2045. It's no secret the stress on our climate will only create more challenges for core city services as our population grows, and especially here on Oahu as we continue to welcome visitors. And that's why reducing our carbon footprint isn't just a popular idea or fun slogan. It is imperative for the well-being of our next generation and the future of Oahu. I look forward to all the ways we can work together this year and beyond. On behalf of Mayor Rick Blangiardi, I welcome you.
Thank you very, very much. That's very, very exciting to have the city participate. We're going to make an announcement a little later that I think is going to be very exciting for everyone. We'll now have a welcome message from Eugenia Foxworth, who is FIAPSE USA president.
Hello, everyone. I am so honored to have the Hawaiian FIAPSE USA Council celebrating the UN World Habitat Day for the 5th year. I had so been looking forward to flying in and celebrating it with you. The plans were made. I had already put everything out, and then I was so disappointed. But no, I am very grateful to be here and to see most of you who were here last year. I am proud of the council for all the work that they have done, and listening to the Timothy Yee, the president, and listening, of course, to Judy Sykes. I mean, it's just amazing. As they say, it takes a village for one to make one grow up. But our village is FIAPSE, the towns, the cities, and the various countries that are working together. And I would very much like to see a transformation, and we can do it because we are more than city people, Congress people, developers, and real estate professionals. So I am looking forward to Hawaii celebrating the UN World Observance Day in 2022. And hopefully the universe will allow us to all be together in person. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eugenia. I thank everyone who's contributing. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go into our presentations now, and this idea of what we can do. And so the UN has already established that 58% of the actions that we can take place in the building sector. So these are actions that we can take right away to retrofit buildings, to make sure that we're energy efficient, to make sure that we're thinking of how to use more of what we already have to make these transitions into this carbon-free world. And I want to say, because it always seems to be that when we start talking about sustainable development goals and a carbon-free future, it always seems like some vast out of this world thing that's way out there that can't be done. And we're here to tell you today that it absolutely can be done. If we design compact and inclusive cities as we're going forward, and I'm going to show some of the The Asians, Malaysia, Philippines, Indonesia, they have the ability to kind of redesign their entire cities and move their capitals and do all sorts of really, really incredible things that we're a little bit constrained here. But nevertheless, we can change the way we think and the way we operate. And so our first speaker is very, very exciting and very, very exciting. Mari Kim. And Mari Kim is the founder of ION Group. That's I-ON, ION Group Capital. She's a principal with G70 and a co-founder of the Kalahi Kiola Group. She's award-winning architect, brand strategist, town planner, professor, and mother of 5 children. Her skill sets cross many different disciplines and given her the honor to design everything from large-scale city master plans to building landscapes, brand positions, furniture, fashion. And she was previously with the Gensler Group in Europe. She studied in Bulgaria, or visited in Bulgaria, Saudi Arabia, and all around. And we're very, very excited to have her perspective here as an architect and the planner of our future cities. So Mari, take it away.
Aloha mai kako. Bill, thank you so very much. I'm really honored and really humbled to be a part of this talk today. I'd actually like to introduce Elam In as well, my design partner in crime. She's going to make sure that I don't completely crash the entire tech system here on my computer. It's really such a pleasure to speak to you today. And I'm normally not in the habit of writing down what I'm going to say, but today I did, because my biggest fear about today was not actually getting across the message that I think is really important to share. And when we speak about urban development and sustainability, I always think, well, how can we speak about healing our planet when our communities continue to be so sick? And this is something that is deep in my heart and deep in, I think, everybody's hearts. So today we'd like to propose starting the conversation here and really basing it on how do we connect human health and planetary health together so that ultimately we are not propelling towards dead Earth anymore. And, often we say in architecture that the most environmental solution is not to build. So today I'd like to show you some of the work that we do that says, well, if we have to build, then let's do the next best thing. And let's attempt to create a picture of the Earth that may look closer to what it looked like before significant built environments became present. And perhaps if we do that, we have just one more tool to taking us back to where we really all want to be. And I want to share very quickly the story of our really beloved endemic kahuli snail, which is actually quite endangered and some of these species of this snail extinct. So this beautiful little Hawaiian snail, sometimes it may choose to live on one tree its entire life. And its whole job is really to take care of the health of that one tree. And it feeds on it and it gives to it. And it knows that its own health depends on the health of that one tree that it stewards. And I often, when I'm teaching as a professor, I often tell students, we are actually the kahuli because we only have our one planet. That's it. This is our planet, this is our island, this is our tree. So let's be like the kahuli and let's be aware that if we are not keeping our one tree in balance, our one planet, then we have no other. And I'd actually like to start, and actually my dear friend Kaili Chan, the Native Hawaiian artist, is the one who shared that story to me. So I'd like to give all credit to her. And I'm actually gonna ask Elam if she can help me, please upload the presentation. So I'd like to start here. This is a sketch when my son was asked in class to draw a picture of the Earth when he was 8 years old. So this is the picture he drew. And it was a bit shocking, but actually it was so, there was such a revelation. And he said, Mom, this is the Earth that people destroyed by plastic pollution. But underneath, there is still an earth that is nature and forgiveness, and maybe we will find it again. And it's so cute because somebody looking at this said, oh, yay for the Southern Hemisphere. We all aspire to that. But the thing that got me in this entire picture that he drew was the word forgiveness, because he didn't, his specific choice to use that word means that that's where we have to start. We have to forgive ourselves, and we have to forgive each other, and we have to start from a place, I think, of love and forgiveness. Okay, I'm gonna go back. So, what I'd like to share today is that, it goes without saying that, when we do our work, the first thing that we do is we try to return a site back to its ancestral DNA, considering the human activity that will take place there. And what we do is we follow the ancient patterns of water, wind, sun, and earth. And when we do that, we're creating a site that we hope will put less strain on infrastructure, use less construction wastage, return the flora and fauna back to the site that knows how to keep it in balance. And most importantly, we're trying to retain all of the runoff stormwater and rainwater back into the land to nourish it. And at the end of the day, the infrastructure that you don't have to build is the best infrastructure there is. So I'm going to briefly whiz you through a series of projects. And, we're currently in Africa building tech campuses for communities that don't have access to infrastructure. But the campus is built in the context of resurrecting the importance of the dry land ancestral forest that should be standing there. And we are currently in Tahiti doing resort developments, but resort developments that are bringing attention to building back the critical supercoral reefs that can actually help to repopulate the entire planet's reef system from Moorea. And today we're actually share a very large healthcare campus that it's actually built around ecological medicinal farms. A tech campus locally here, we're thinking of doing that can turn decommissioned large infrastructure into an alo'i agricultural field. A school that remembers that it's sitting on remnants of a marshland, and a community resiliency hub that is actually centering itself in a new polyforestry farm. So you can see the trend. We try to embed organic, living, growing matter into every project that we're allowed to do, because this is how we're going to go back to the picture of Earth that is like what it used to be. And I included this diagram because this is how we start every project: planet health, people health, communities, research, education, and ancestral knowledge. And we try to draw the matrix that says, how does one affect the other? And in the middle of the spider web, this is just an example we drew. In the middle emerges the program that comes from the DNA of the site. And this is actually the Coral Ridge Healthcare Campus, almost 1.5 million square feet, that will become probably the largest health and wellness campus in the Pacific. And it was an active agricultural field. And a lot of our densifying urban communities will begin to move into rural and agricultural sites. So the question is, how do we do this in a way that restores the land back to its roots instead of strips and takes from it? So what we did is we went way back to what happened on the site in the first human contact before industry took place. And there was something called the okipu'u. So the okipu'u is an organic clearing in the land that allows the sun to touch the earth so that nature can thrive. That is what this site was. And what was planted here was all the medicinal plants. La'au lapa'au, we call it in Hawaii. And we also worked with Manaola Yap, the cultural practitioner, and we began to look at the ohekapala carvings. We took the baby koa plant seeds that were in this okipu'u on the site. We carved a pattern, and to honor the site, we created this print. And the print will resurrect itself in the project to remind us that we are in an ancestral Okipu'u. It knew how to take the rain, it knew how to photosynthesize the sun, it knew how to do everything with the planet in balance and self-sustain itself. So this was a very first sketch done of the project, an attempt to take all these bubbles of program and feed it back into an Okipu'u. What is tomorrow's future? You know, how do we regenerate the land? And you see the sort of funny little spider webby diagram of making all these clearings in the land so that the earth, the nature, the sun, the rain can touch the ground. And we are building a large healthcare campus. There's some big buildings that have to go there. How do you balance it? You create a seed, it's a seed theory. See all of the outside, everything around us is heavy industry. There's some residential, commercial. We create this really beautiful living organic core, this sort of gold in the middle that is protected by the, you know, the outside of the seed. And in that, these are the diagrams that we started saying, how do we create this Okipu'u clearing in the land again that wants to be there? And this is the actual project. And I've chosen actually to use it in diagrammatic formats, but we resurrect the Okipu'u, as you can see here. And in the plan, you know, all of the we actually keep everything hard roads on the outside, and we dedicate almost 4.5 acres of land back to an ancestral farm in the middle. And on the second level, we call it the yellow brick road, but we elevate, we separate people moving from cars and things. So this is a geriatric center of excellence. So our kupuna, our elders, are safe. And we bring the project back down to scale by creating these small pavilions that make you feel like you're not in in a sort of forest of large buildings. And what is most exciting about this project is we actually worked with Dr. Kazuma Nakagawa. He's a brilliant neuroscientist. Our partners are Queen's Hospital, and we created what we call neuro rehab gardens. So within this huge Okipu'u landscape, at the entry of every single building is a living organic garden that relates to a different part of the brain. The idea is that when you've walked the 1 mile circumference and touched upon each one of these 8 entry garden spaces, you can't get into a building without going through a living organic garden. Each one has an activity, and these are actually Dr. Nakagawa's notes, each part of the brain. And in order for us to delay the onset of Alzheimer's, fight brain disease, have children grow healthier minds, we want to create something called neuroplasticity. We want all the parts of the brain to touch each other. And how do we do it? We do it by creating these neural gardens, and each garden relates to a different lobe in the brain. And by connecting them all together through this pathway, we trigger the entire brain to grow plasticity and genesis, we call it, to grow new brain cells. And science has shown that this can happen at any age. So you look at in an attempt to bring a site back to its ancestral roots, we've actually created really the first neuro rehab campus. And don't come here because you need a blood test. Come here 2, 3, 4 times a week because you want to exercise, walk a mile, and grow a healthier brain. And this is the way that we get to a successful reduction of carbon. It's not to just specify recycled concrete. It's to inspire every single member of the community to want to become a part of this, for them to firsthand experience the benefit of building organic matter into our projects. And very quickly, I'm just going to take you through a snapshot of the work that we've done that demonstrates this. And so we did a school that actually remembers that it was a marshland. So we took the trees that we had to remove from the site and we dried them on site and built them back into the project. And the heart of the entire site is actually this, this organic garden that has the memory of the trees, that remembers that this is where the water gets absorbed and run off into the site. We don't put a lot of hardscape that doesn't allow the site to retain its own moisture. And we use materials. We took a rubbish throwaway timber material that normally gets chipped up, and we thermally modified it under high heat and pressure, and we use it as the beautiful outside of the building. So material that is considered rubbish has now become something so beautiful. You can start to see the pattern here. We have another site where we actually resurrected the old agricultural terraces, and all of this green that you see around, we use it as a natural fire break in a tech campus because it's filled with water. This is the Panaeva Farmers Association Resiliency Hub. We introduce polyforestry through the Heva Brothers' important work, and see this around the edge. It's a resiliency hub. In a hurricane scenario, that we build a moat with the polyforestry, with the green, and the moat prevents the flood water from reaching the resiliency hub so it can remain standing in a disaster situation. And so you see how this community center now gets protected by its own agriculture. And so we began to just show you examples of the work that we do. And we're trying to create this pattern that when you look at an urban development, when you look at a rural development, it should look a little bit of what the earth looked like before we as humans interjected. And, you know, perhaps the message, I bring this picture up again, because perhaps it inspired us as a company to move towards what we see on the bottom of the screen, not the top half of the screen. And what I'd like to leave you with, that perhaps true sustainability is a mindset. You know, it's a dedication to the health of our planet, but a dedication also to the well-being of each other and our communities, and that the two are so intrinsically bound together that one cannot happen without the other. And, you know, again, please, let's not continue to talk about the health of our planet while our communities are sick. And how we treat each other, how we value our communities. This is how we choose to use this mindset to action and embrace how we will be servants to the planet. So Bill, my apologies for going a few minutes over, but thank you so much for allowing us to share our hearts this morning.
Thank you very, very much. It's very, very exciting for us to be able to really, start with forgiveness. And I think that's, that's something that is actually very, very simple to do, but very, very hard to do at the same time. It is an opportunity for us, as I said in the beginning, to take responsibility. We have to take responsibility for having gotten to where we are, and then responsibility for getting to that new place, both above and south of the equator. So we're going to have another video now, and this video is from going to prelude to our next speaker. So this is from Puerto Rico.
Hurricane Maria changed everything for everyone here in Puerto Rico. There were about 70,000 homes destroyed. Some had no roof, and some only just had a toilet left standing. We don't have to live this way. My mission is to build homes that are earthquake-proof and hurricane-proof. My company is challenging the way we look at construction. We're using shipping containers as a base structure. I'm a third-generation architect. My grandfather and my father are both architects. They've always taught me that being part of a community and helping out that community is actually really important. Some days after Hurricane Maria, I joined FEMA to work as a construction inspector. I remember this one case, this lady came in to us and we couldn't find the house. And we realized that we couldn't find the house because there was absolutely nothing left. The desperation in that woman's face was just, I'm just never gonna forget it. The name of my company is called Conti Design Build Studio. In Spanish, it actually combines into many phrases. For example, the word contigo, which means with you, as in you can take your home with you. These actually look really good. And then we go inside. So there's no holes on the roof, there's no holes on the walls. This is a really beautiful container. It's a really beautiful future home. Our first Conti home was built in Vieques, which is an island off the coast of Puerto Rico, and was one of the worst off communities after Hurricane Maria. Hello. When I come visit Mildred and Amador, who are the owners of this house, It just makes me feel so happy to see that this couple was actually able to get their dream because it was more cost effective and faster. It's probably one of my proudest moments.
Yo abro esa puerta. I open those doors and I'm in paradise.
Era la ilusión de los dos.
It was our dream
Tener algo.
to have something that is ours, and we achieved it.
Al principio no
At
teníamos
first,
mucha fe.
we didn't have a lot of faith, but she fought for us to build.
Vieques lives with her hair standing on end, waiting to see if we will get hit by another hurricane. This is the best option.
Almost 3 years after Hurricane Maria, the island's experiencing a string of earthquakes. In the south part of the island, this has left some homes and businesses uninhabitable. The nonprofit Americas for Conservation and the Arts is using one of our homes as a health command center in order to be able to distribute supplies and aid to the people that have been affected by the earthquakes. Communities have gathered together and built camps where they're sleeping in tents in open spaces.
You can sit in the back. I show you to the back.
Sure.
Ay, Dios mío. I tried to hold it. I can't. I lost everything. But that's okay. I'm gonna get up again. The help of God.
Nos vemos. Mucha
Okay.
suerte. The median income in Puerto Rico is about $20,000, when the average home costs about $100,000. The math just doesn't add up. Our Conti M1 model goes for about half the price of the average home in Puerto Rico. We can also make our homes completely off-grid. So the ultimate goal is to be able to produce 100 units a month. We can really use these houses for disaster relief. We can use it for refugee camps. But the best part is we want to produce them here in Puerto Rico and ship them all around the world.
So we are very fortunate to have Carla with us today as our speaker, one of our speakers. And so we're very, very excited to have Carla take us through the updates and the process. So Carla, take it away.
Thank you so much, Bill. Thank you for having me here. So like you saw in the video, we need more families like Mildred. We need to enact policies that ensure that sustainable and resilient housing is accessible for all demographics. Banks and government agencies, I speak to you when I say that we need to finance sustainability. That's our biggest issue right now, honestly. My name is Carla Gautier Castro. I'm a designer and environmental activist that was born and raised in Puerto Rico. And I'm here to talk to you about how our story can and will change for the better. In 2017, Hurricane Maria decimated the island of Puerto Rico. But hidden in its 200-mile-per-hour gusts blew the winds of opportunity. Opportunity to reimagine safe, affordable housing. Opportunity to learn from our history and march towards a future of symbiotic coexistence with nature. To replace an unconscientious past with a climate-damaging past. So this is my story. Before Hurricane Maria, I had just graduated from my master's in architecture from Wentworth Institute of Technology in Boston, Massachusetts, with a thesis that focused on the development of a system that could use culture and history as a concept for prefabricated sustainable homes that could be exported. By the way, shipping containers were not even in my radar at this point, and little did I know that I would end up making this part a reality. So let's fast forward to the months after Hurricane Maria. As you all know, we were not able to communicate for weeks, if not months. We were in survival mode. So the search for a job had to be put on hold, for sure. And this is when I decided to go work with FEMA in the disaster recovery efforts. During this time, I visited over 400 homes, or what was left of them, as you saw in the video. Some had damages, others had no roofs, and others, well, we could not even find them because the pieces that were left had flown away into oblivion. Today, 4 years later, we still have around 30,000 homes and families without a proper replacement. So this got me to think that there had to be a better solution for building back these communities. We have to build back greener. For me, it was imperative that if we were to build housing solutions that could resist the monstrous effects of climate change, we could not do it in a way that would make the origin of the problem worse. So I like to use this example because when it comes to longevity, concrete is usually the most famous actor in this play. But how many of you have thought about how we produce this material? In order to retrieve the raw material, we need to explode mountains, we need to dig out entire rivers and extract their sands, destroying entire habitats and murdering an outstanding number of species in the process. But it doesn't even stop there. If the industry of concrete was considered a country, it would be the third highest CO2 emitter in the world. It's insane. So I bet you guys can guess why I did not go with concrete as my main structure for my homes. Instead, at Conti, we seek to reuse and reduce as much as possible. If we build our homes using green principles, we positively impact our health in a natural environment directly in the place where the structure is going to be built at a local level, and also indirectly finding a synergy with the global natural world. This is the only way, in my mind, that we can pave the path for our planetary recuperation. And your imagination is really your only limit. Conti Design Build Studio develops turnkey structural solutions that are safe, affordable, and climate conscious alternatives to live, work, and play. As an example, the median income in Puerto Rico is $20,000, while the median household costs $100,000. The math simply just does not add up. So Conti Design Build Studio was envisioned as a one-stop shop for sustainable, resilient housing solutions that work for the majority of the population. As base structures, shipping containers are perfectly modeled to fill the gap. The reuse of existing materials, coupled with a naturally disaster-proof structure, ensures the safety of occupants and structural longevity while minimizing environmental impact. The flexibility in form factor also means that container homes can be prepped with off-grid energy systems and transported anywhere in the world, wherever they are needed the most, to rapidly provide disaster relief housing when it's needed the most. In the end, each shipping container we use for a home is one more family that lives safely and one less shipping container that ends up in the trash, further contaminating our lands. It's a win-win if you ask me. Sustainable housing can be developed at a better price point than current solutions, and it can be accessible for all people if we start making changes in our financial policies that can start to benefit those who choose the path towards sustainability. This year, we will be building coalitions with nonprofit organizations to tackle the US Economic Development Administration's Building Back Better challenge in order to expand our reach to the people that really need it the most. So please reach out to us if you believe we can partner to build back greener. Banks, I talk to you. Interest rates should be better than those with non-sustainable alternatives. And furthermore, the process of pre-qualifying for these types of housing loans need to be more accessible than that of non-sustainable alternatives. And finally, governments, we need to act in favor of sustainable solutions, incentivizing real estate investors to move in this direction and disincentivizing non-sustainable alternatives, period. We actually just got our report from, how do you call in English? Oh my gosh, sorry. The appraisal for our first LEED certified house that we're building in the Caribbean. And to my surprise, these houses are actually going to be 30% above market price if they're LEED certified. So for me, this is amazing, right? So because it means that it makes more sense for people monetarily. We need everyone to buy into sustainability. My name is Carla Gautier Castro. I'm a Latina working every day to build back greener in my community and hopefully yours too. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope we can make it our story. And thank you to the International Real Estate Federation and UN Habitat for giving me the amazing opportunity of standing here today to expose my team's views on accelerating urban action for a carbon-free world.
Thank you very, very much. Very, very wonderful. You know, Mari and Carla, the resonance of your stories and how they go together. Those of you who have been with us with Hawaii and Kaiwiki Village, and after the earthquake in Japan, where the homes were returned to Hawaii for the homeless. And so this idea of we can do it. We are the responsible actors. We are the ones who we've been waiting for. I think that's a rock song these days. That's what Bono is. Isn't that what he says? Actually, I want to have one more video from the architects, our architects from France, which will actually bring the presentation to a close. So this is again from our Pritzker Prize winning architects.
Greenhouses is a very, very old interest for us.
Yeah, it's something from the beginning. Already at school, we were interested by greenhouses. I think it's also linked with transparency, that we really are interested in our architecture. And the idea of playing with the climate and not fighting against. You have the sun that is heating thousands times more than a radiator that you can have at home. You have this energy and we can just think with it. How much we want to take inside, how much we can keep during the night, how much we can leave going back during the day, natural ventilation, filters, screens, solar shading, mobile insulation. This is the technology of the greenhouse that has been developed with an extreme sophistication. And we have tried to apply and to understand these technologies and to adapt to architecture and to housing.
In architecture, when you want to protect a building from the cold or for the warm, the solution is to close it, to insulate. While in the greenhouse, the transparency, the lightness is always there. And now we can say that our buildings are very performant in terms of saving energy or all of this because of this technology of greenhouses introduced in architecture. The economy for us is a very important point to understand that finally the economy is not a constraint, but it's also a tool for doing more and for freedom.
Yeah, in a certain way, the economy is linked with this idea of lightness. It means that using less money to make more. So keeping this idea of economy of materials, economy of energy of workers to place it, etc. And always to open to more ambitions. Never to say we should do less because we have less money. No, I think it's always possible to think how we can be more precise, more light, more simple.
And always, also in terms of construction, to try to do the same efficiency with less material or less system. So it's a very safe constraint to have to do with less.
Precisely, it is the work of architects, I think, to find these solutions. And but it is exciting. I think it's really exciting.
Wow, to do more with less. You know, that if we take away anything from today, this idea of transformation, this idea that economic restraints are exciting. You know, that we don't have to build with huge, you know, as Mari and Carla have shown us, we've seen that we already have everything that we need. It's already there. Mother Earth, that was my speech last year, but Mother Earth is there for us and will come back as long as we stand out of the way as much as possible and realize our responsibilities. So before I'm going to show the other thing that we're doing today is we are launching The City We Need is Affordable. And I'm so excited. Every year we launch this book on World Habitat Day. And so this book is, because we are virtual, it is an ebook for now. We are hoping to print it once we're together. A better quality of life for all in an urbanizing world is the theme of UN Habitat's 2023 strategic plan. Housing is the basis for a better quality of life and affects every citizen, housed and unhoused. Sustainable development cannot be achieved without addressing this basic human right. And so people at the center is the theme of the book. We have messages from our world president, from the FIAPSI International Organizing Committee and FIAPSI. I am a city changer. I am a city changer. We are city changers. And so Carla's project is in here, the idea of transformation, historic preservation, and renovation. Again, we don't need to build anything else, really and truly. There's stuff already built that sits empty. And so here is the Pritzker Prize winners, which were really the inspiration for the book and today's kind of jumping off point. We have a project, Lathrop Homes, here in Chicago. Lathrop Homes is historic preservation. This was built in the 30s under FDR in the Workers' Public Administration and was neglected. And now it's been brought back for mixed use community. We have renovation in, this is in Brooklyn, and St. Nick's Alliance is in Brooklyn, that are renovating and preserving housing that already exists. Instant housing, tunnel form construction, and self-build. You'll see our Conti design containers are in the book, and you see how those work. We have in India, tunnel form construction, which is not reinforced concrete anymore. So they are moving away from reinforced concrete to a tunnel form construction where the molds build the buildings. Another exciting project from India, and I Build and Habitat for Humanity. This is controlling the entire process so that I can build my own house. Because if I go on the app, I can find a contractor. I can find and use the app, because I am not a big phone app person, but this is particularly in the developing world, they can transfer money. And so this is the idea that we take this idea of technology and the app and move it into the housing construction world. Starter homes and family first. And so the idea here is, this is from the Philippines and workforce housing. The Fiesta communities really are the ones who are working in the Philippines. And you see here the scale of what they're building and the number of homes that they have to build, but at the same time, taking up as little space as possible and keeping nature there. It's very, very exciting. This is, Mari, this is Eden on the Park, which is in Malaysia, and it's about aging in place. So it's so that seniors can have their own apartment, and then when it's time that they need care, they move into the assisted care facility within the same community of gardens. And the idea is that mental well-being, as Mari was talking about, is important for all of us. And so the idea of how we do that. This is putting children first. This is actually in Atlanta, and the idea of preserving and making sure that we're building housing for working families. You know, we have for the longest time been talking about luxury high-rises and second homes. And as Mari talked about, meanwhile, our communities are sick. And so that's the idea of how we can really start to look at that. Transit-oriented development, something we started in Hawaii many years ago, public-private partnerships for people and community land trusts. And so this is Saputra in Indonesia, and you can see there the scale. They've already got 18,000 units built in Indonesia around a train stop. And so they have the transit-oriented hub that brings the people back and forth into Indonesia. Really an incredible scale of what our colleagues in Asia are doing. It's really just incredible, some of the work that's going on with Saputra Group. And then community land trusts. If you don't know about a community land trust, those are where the land is held in perpetuity for the community and is leased for affordable housing. And our Grand Prix winners, Kapiolani residents in Hawaii, won the Grand Prix this year, gold level. And so these are winning projects. Again, the idea here is that we already have solutions that are available. And then housing policy framework here. This is really, as Carla was talking about, to governments, how do we put policy in place that really helps us understand from a multi-pronged point of view. So we have to have the policies, we have to have the financing. It's clear we have the architects that can take care of this. And so right now I want to just do a little bit of discussion. You know, I would like to ask Mari first, if she can give us, and Carla as well, and any of the other panelists, this idea of forgiveness. Where do we start with that? What does that mean? Where do we start with that?
Thank you, Bill, for asking that really important question. I think that if you listen to a lot of the dialogue about this, you know, what happened to climate change, there seems to be a lot of finger pointing going on. We blame the industries, you know, we blame construction. And I think we're never going to get anywhere until we actually approach this with a bit of forgiveness and we stop blaming each other. So much of the rhetoric around climate change just is about who caused it. So we all caused it, right? And so I think we need to stop putting so much energy into how did we get into this situation, and transition that energy into how do we get out of this situation.
Yeah, and that's really it's one of those things that's changing the mindset. And it's changing that mindset from can't to can. And you know, slogans, you know, but that's the real idea here, is that taking responsibility. And you know, I think I'm so excited to have that word forgiveness come to us, because it is a place of humble, you know, a place of humility. You know, in order to forgive, you have to be humble and take the idea of your community. And now Carla and I, in the preparations here, we were talking about instant housing and the idea of, you know, even if you've got this shipping container home, there's a whole host of other associated things that have to happen to make that home end up being inhabitable. So Carla, if you wanted to go into that a little bit, about what you're, you know, as you're trying to place these homes, and you said you know, you've got appraisals, you've got sewers, you've got all sorts of things that have to come into place as well.
Yes, agreed. I mean, you know, the home itself where you're living is just one little piece, right? But in the end, a home is really kind of like a living organism, right? Like it needs energy, just like we need energy. You know, we eat food. Well, unfortunately, homes eat oil, but we can change that, you know? So I think for me, one of the biggest things, that's why I talked about the importance of financing sustainability, is because sustainability right now is incredibly expensive, and these living organisms can be completely off grid. You know, we can design these houses to be completely off grid, and to play upon what Myra was saying before, you know, infrastructure that we don't have to build. That was the best thing I've ever heard today, is the best infrastructure. So if we can have each home be completely off grid, but also be accessible to the majority of the population, then, you know, that becomes a huge, huge difference. But it's never going to happen if it's not accessible to the majority of the population, because unfortunately, you know, if we keep this only accessible to the people that have the means, then we're only talking about a small percentage. So when we can get to a point where this is something that's accessible to everyone, where we can make homes that are fully living organisms that work by themselves, I think that's when we can really, really make a difference.
Yeah, that's it's very, very exciting. And the idea that the planet is alive, that our homes are alive, and hopefully we are also alive and healthy. And we don't need to look around. I mean, this current crisis that whichever one you like to pick, whether it is a health crisis or an energy crisis or a financial crisis or a crisis of hatred, is all exactly the same cause. It's exactly the same causes as all of these things are precisely those causes for us neglecting, and as I said, not only it's our health first. I mean, ultimately we have neglected our own health and certainly the health of our communities. And so this has been reflected in what we have seen here. And that idea of how do we, to our panelists, how do we bring more people on board with this idea? How do we get more people to, we always talk about in this space, the NIMBYs, the not in my backyards. How do we get to the YIMBYs, which is yes, in my backyard? So how do we get from NIMBY to YIMBY?
Phil, I think my husband, he actually calls it IMBY, he said he's going to make a shirt that says IMBY, in my backyard. So, first of all, Carla, I'd like to say you and I are yin yang twin glass sisters. Yes.
Nice.
So, props to that. But, Bill, I think that we need to stop talking about sustainability like it's a cool science experiment, and we need to start actually putting it into action in a way that makes it accessible. Accessibility is the word. It makes it accessible to everybody in every demographic in the community, because that is the way. When you can get 8 billion people, or a good portion of that, to move in the same direction together, can you imagine that tidal wave of momentum? So I think that if you're still hitting the 10% of people on this planet who are in the industry, who are in science, who can make, that is nothing compared to creating projects and developments and built environments that make accessible to everyone. And it's not just to make it accessible, it is to inspire and motivate every person in every demographic to become a part of this tidal wave. So if I can go to this healthcare campus even once a year or once a month, and I'm so touched by it, we always say in architecture, you can fill the program, you can meet the needs, but how do you transcend that? You only transcend it when you touch somebody's heart. So you have to motivate somebody to want to do something that is good for the planet. And we're not going to do it by talking about science constantly, which we have to do. That's very important. We're going to do it by putting our words into actions as builders and stewards, and doing it in a way that allows everybody accessibility.
Bill, if I may add, I think that the examples that we heard today are just so excellent. The examples that you have in the new city edition and even in our past editions, I think if we can show that it is possible on a very practical level. I know tomorrow we will be having our Chief Resiliency Officer for the city and our Hawaii Energy director speaking, and they will talk about some of the accomplishments. But I think, again, that concept of, unfortunately, I think we've been using these words of sustainability, resilience so often. What does it mean? I think, unfortunately, it's the way, as we had talked about last year, economic disparity, when we're talking about homelessness and the issues and the financing and all of that, we need to find some other words so that when we do approach and dialogue with our friends and our neighbors, I think somehow we need to come up with some other words that maybe will have a little different connotation and that truly show the implementation aspects. I think it was wonderful to have your son, to have the children. And I know Timothy has an example of, how he came up with his slogan from our children. So how can we, again, put all of those elements together, come up with some other words to, and different ways of defining these examples that we saw illustrated so well today?
Yeah, thank you. And I would add too that there is actually the idea of 33%, 33%, and 33%. So there are going to be 33% of the people who are for something, and 33% of people who are against something, and 33% of the people who don't care, who either don't know or don't care. And so in reality, it's just about convincing those people in the middle to move toward the thing that we're after. You know, because there's always going to be, so it's not like everybody on the planet has to do this. In fact, if we reach that right segment of the population, as Judy talks about, and inspire their hearts, then we will move to 34%, 35%, 36% who are for it. And then that will make the whole difference in that. So we're going to wrap up our panel here. Carla, do you want to have any additional words?
Yeah, I actually wanted to comment on, because it's interesting that we're talking about education, and you know, there's nothing like an experience to educate people, is what I've realized. And like, for example, in Puerto Rico, I don't have to educate anybody about wanting to have solar panels anymore. You know, we have one of the highest costs of energy in the United States. Probably one of the worst systems that like our power, I'm currently afraid that my power is going to disappear like any minute now. You know, so everyone here wants solar panels. Everybody here understands what that means. It's not really anymore an issue of educating people, other than it's an issue of being able to achieve it, you know, for people. You know, every time I have a consult, people ask me for solar panels until they realize what the price point is, unfortunately. So again, you know, in the end, we can keep educating, but until governments and banks start actually taking action into financing sustainability rather than financing things that go against sustainability, we're not really going to see change, I think. So for me, that's like the biggest thing, and we definitely need to move towards that, and we need to keep going. But I think we're going to make it.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly positive.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely would like to thank our panelists, Mare Kim and Carla Castro. It was really, really inspirational. Thank you so much. We're going to turn it over to Tim for some closing words, and then we have a couple of invitations for you.
Thank you, Bill. Wow, what can I say? I'm mesmerized by all of you, and today was just a speechless event, and the information that I got as a developer. I'm humbly taking all these notes. I've been flipping, you know, all the words. I gotta get with you in person to, you know, take more notes and more information, because this is huge. We're talking about action. Stop talking about just ideology, politics, who does what. And you know, Mari, thank you so much about this forgiveness from Philip, your son, 80-year-old. That's what we're doing right now. It's for our next generation. It's not so much on us here, because we messed up so much. I'm sorry to say, but we messed up so much. But when we look into our children's eyes, I feel sorry, and we need forgiveness from them. But it's so hopeful at the same time that 80-year-old Philip saying that, yeah, we can find it. Let's go find it. Let's go find the earth that we can still enjoy and be thankful about. I think that's the message we're taking away. Hope in trash. I never had anything like this. Hope in trash. Marie using ashes, just trash, to build great school building where children have this organic park, organic building that they walk in and they look at it and they say, we can do this. What we trashed, they're going to bring it back to make it alive again. That's great hope that I'm walking away with. And Carla, you're talking about, again, trash in hope. These trash containers could have been just a useless trash, but she's using all these containers to bring back the life back. And when Luis was in tears, I was in tears as well. Giving somebody hope from literally nothing from trash. You guys are just awesome. And I'm just so inspired. The word inspiration. Yeah, I definitely want to be partnering with both of you and all of you. How do we do this? Let's do it. Just like, we just go ahead and do it. Yeah, we cannot just continue to rely on education, continue to have somebody do it from government sector or private sector. It's Bill, as we always say, it's about people. I love that the theme that you have people at the center, private public partnership for the people. Thanks to Anton coming in, and he was one of the first government official to register when we had this out. And that's the caring, that's the heart that you have toward the people in Hawaii. That's why I hope we have government sector, we have private sector, we have these great architects, great leaders of our community focusing on finding the solution and what can we do to bring this life back on our earth. So thank you so much. And wow, this is just great. So just wanted to thank everyone today. And I'm excited to hear more from our government sector, mostly tomorrow. And yes, we definitely need to find the sector. Let's just not talk about it. We've been doing that for past decades of talking about it, but let's go and do it. And we have all these people who have spoken today, everybody who joined us today. It takes someone, just one person, to start a movement. And I think that this is our takeaway today. Hope in trash, but when we do it together, it's gonna come out as beautiful as what Mari and Carla they have done. And I'm so thankful for that. Wow, so I can talk on and on, but I'm excited. But Jenny, I know you have some announcement.
Yeah, so thank you all very much. Please mark your calendars for October 2 through 5 next year, where you will join us in Honolulu. So we will be celebrating World Habitat Day again, and this time even in a bigger and better way. And so it's going to be really exciting. I know the city is really, really excited to host people from all over the world next year in Honolulu. And so we really wanted to lay this groundwork for next year. But coming up between now and next year, if you can, next June, the 26th through the 30th of June, 2022, will be the World Urban Forum in Poland. And so we are expecting a huge delegation to come from the United States and Hawaii to invite people to join us in October. So we have a promotion video for the World Urban Forum 11 in Poland.
The premier global meeting on urbanization, the World Urban Forum, will be held in the city of Katowice in Poland. Thousands of stakeholders will participate in the forum from the 26th to the 30th of June next year to discuss the future of cities and towns.
One of the key roles of the United Nations Human Settlements Program and a core component of UN Habitat's mandate on behalf of the United Nations is to mobilize broader action on sustainable urbanization at all levels and by all stakeholders. The World Urban Forum, also known as WUF, has become the primary advocacy platform for urban transformation, bringing together leaders, scholars, communities, and stakeholders to address the most pressing issues around rapid urbanization and its impact on cities, people, economy, and environment. With UN Habitat and its partners leverage action towards greener, more inclusive, and more sustainable cities by implementing the new urban agenda and the Sustainable Development Goals. WUF 11 is an opportunity for Poland to demonstrate to the world community its own commitment to achieving a sustainable urban future. I look forward to meeting you all at WUF 11 next year in Katowice, Poland.
I'm very much honored and proud that Poland has been selected as the host country of the 11th World Urban Forum in 2022. Without any doubt, we can say that the city of Katowice, the venue of the forum, will become the capital of all cities in the world for a few days. I believe we have a great story to tell. It's my real pleasure to announce that the leading theme of the forum will be transforming our cities for a better urban future. We established this title in cooperation with the UN Habitat to broadly reflect the present and future challenges for urban development around the world. See you in Katowice, see you in Poland at the World Urban Forum in June 2022.
Katowice is looking forward to hosting the international community. We have held many global gatherings. We look forward to welcoming you all to Katowice.
The 11th World Urban Forum, or WUF 11, gives the international community a chance to share a wide range of global experiences and to look forward to creating inclusive, prosperous cities and towns with opportunities for all.
So thank you very much for your time and attendance today. The best meetings end early. So we have finished with our presentations, and we will see you next June in Poland, and we will see you next October in Hawaii. Here is our event tomorrow. You're automatically registered for the event tomorrow, and the event tomorrow will be more specifically on Hawaii and actions in Hawaii in the energy sector, as opposed to what we did today, which was the building sector. So we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you again for great moderating today. As always, Bill, you have given us the opportunity to kind of put this together with all of us at the Hawaii Council. Thanks to Eugenia for staying with us on this one. Thank you so much for your leadership for FIAPS USA, connecting us with a great program, United Nations. And thanks to Jack and Judy and Jenny. Thanks for all that you've done. And as always, I cannot thank you enough, but you're the one behind the curtain making this thing happen. So thank you so much. And again, needless to say, Marie and Carla, you guys has been a phenomenal speaker today and a so inspirational speaker. So thank you so much. Yeah, so again, yeah, we're looking forward to it tomorrow. And also we have the World's Cities Day in October 25th, another great event with the United Nations. So tune into that. And that's pretty much it. Am I missing anything, Jenny? So again, mahalo for attending today. And we'll be in touch. And let's continue to talk this, because we can do this together. And I'm walking away with this word together again. Hope and together. We can do this, make this happen. Mahalo and aloha.